Welcome to the Open Space and Ecology meeting of July 23rd, 2025. I'm sorry we're a few minutes late, but we're having a going away party for Karen Kinzer, who is retiring after 31 amazing years of service. I don't really want to let her out of the room, but oh well. Karen, do you have a few words to say before we start?
No, and how many years with Open Space and Ecology? 10?
Oh,
maybe?
yeah, at
Almost
least.
9 or 10?
Yeah.
Quite a long
And
run.
did you see your little gift there?
Yes.
It's a rock from San Bruno Mountain, so you don't forget us.
Oh, thank you. I was just
With crystals on it.
just hiking earlier today.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I don't know what to do next. Do I need to read any special things? No, just call to order and roll call. Julie?
Present.
Mary?
Present.
Aaron?
Present.
Anthony?
Present.
Michelle? Present. And Rohandra is absent tonight. He had he excused absence. Okay, so do we have a move to adopt the agenda?
I have a correction. Now, is this the old one or the new one?
You have a what, Julie?
Never mind. Go ahead.
Wait. This is to adopt tonight's agenda.
No, it's on B. I'm going on B.
Okay.
Never mind.
Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second? All in favor? I don't
Aye.
have to do roll call for that, do I? Okay. All right. Then the next thing is announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I would
Other
like this opportunity to introduce Christina Fernandez, Assistant City Manager. OSEC, the Sustainability Division is going to move from Public Works to the City Manager's office, so Christina will be the head of that effort.
Well, welcome, Christina. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I just want to thank you all, and sorry, I'm like bending over
here. I just want to thank you all for having me, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
And Molly and Dolores are also holding up the fort. And so even though we're going to really miss Karen, and I guess we'll soldier on. Oral communications, does anyone have oral communications? Are there I don't think we have any participants online, do we?
No.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Does anyone have changes to the minutes?
Yeah, I have one quick one. I had mentioned having another cleanup weeding actually down at the frog habitat. And I think it was misinterpreted as another event like the previous one, when in fact it was just going to be a stewards event. So we had always talked about having stewards-centric things versus big plan things. And it got treated as if it were a big plan thing, which I understand there's one in August. But it was a time-sensitive get them before they set seed thing.
Okay, could we correct that in the minutes? Okay.
Julie, I can read your lips, but I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah,
Do
me
you think-
too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just a little
Bad
closer to your
luck.
mouth. Yep, thank you,
Maybe speak up a little bit more.
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any changes to the minutes? Okay. Is there a move to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. As amended. Okay, and next comes old business. Do we have any old business review?
We have a lot
submitted?
of old business.
Don't go there. Okay. So old business is to review the submitted OSEC Baylands draft DIR comments, assignments, and deadlines.
Can we
So-
start with the housekeeping maybe, and then talk about the content of the comments we have so far second?
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
would be
that's-
the next slide, I think, has the schedule, right? So we just have the schedule going forward, and, you know, you guys know who we got some comments after the deadline, so we found a way to get those to you, because there's staff time to, you know, make sure we can, we were able to put them under other business on the website, but those have to be out to the public per the Brown Act. Everything has to be where the public can see 72 hours before. We have to have the item agendized per the Brown Act. So we found a way through that, but we want to really stress that next time, comments due Wednesday, August 13th. And please try not to send them, just so that the Brown Act, that we don't get in a strange place with serial meetings. Send them to staff so that we can forward them. That's just our protocol that makes it pretty safe that you're not having those conversations outside of this public process.
Okay. And the next meeting date is, just while we're on that, is Wednesday, the 27th of August, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna, by having them on the 13th, we can get them out, I say we, by, it would be the 22nd, Friday the 22nd. And we're anticipating more comments because we haven't gotten as a heavy amount of comments in the first two cycles that we thought we were gonna get. So that's why we're just asking for extra time to put them together.
Okay.
And we can also try to get them to you earlier than the 22nd, so that you have more time to review them before the meeting.
Okay. And also, if you have more comments after the deadline, you are able to file individual comments, and other people are able to file comments all the way up until September 2nd, I
Yeah.
believe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So, or if you have something to say that you don't think should be included with OSEC's comments, that's also an option.
I have a whole list of those already.
And then, did you have that document that we got an email just in the last day or two that talked about kind of what we should be looking at really for this particular assignment? Do we
Maybe
wanna go
give,
over that?
are you on your email? It was the one that I emailed. Give us a minute to try to get, to find that. Thank you for pointing out the other points about the individual comments, that they can be
Yeah.
up until, what is the date? September 2nd is the close date.
Yeah.
And the information about how to send those in is on the city website
Uh-huh.
to be able to do that. What we do with OSEC is everyone's comments, you guys look at together, you vote on, these are the comments we want to submit, and then staff puts them together and sends them on your behalf.
Right. And if there's things that don't get accepted for OSEC or that you have to, that you want to speak further on your own, every person in Brisbane is encouraged to look at the draft EIR and make relevant comments. But I think it's important that we focus on the things that are, for OSEC, the things that are relevant to the environmental issues, correct? Isn't that what that said? More or less.
Yes. I could probably find it and read it if. You surprised us with that one, and I don't remember.
Like you don't want to make a comment like, I don't like the project. Too late.
Yeah, no, that's an opinion. That goes in your own personal letter.
Yeah.
I can read it.
I can't log into
Oh, okay. So we inquired to the community development director about, well, I'll just read what he wrote to Public Works Director because I cut that and put it in an email to you. In response to your inquiry on how the city responds to comments on the Baylands draft EIR, so this is the city's response to the comments you guys submit, I would refer to the applicable section of the CEQA guidelines referenced below. 15088, evaluation of response to comments. A, the lead agency shall evaluate comments on environmental issues received from persons who reviewed the draft EIR and shall prepare a written response. The lead agency shall respond to comments raising significant environmental issues received during the notice comment period. And then he further says, as you are aware, the draft EIR analyzes a number of environmental topics, transportation, air quality, noise, biological resources, etc. The analysis within each topic includes an impact analysis, determination of significance, and recommended mitigation measures, if applicable, and alternatives to reduce significant impacts. All written comments addressing any of these components will receive a written response as part of the final EIR. Any written comments that are unrelated to environmental issues, such as comments on the merits of the specific plan itself, economic implications, etc., will not be responded to in the final EIR. Note that to the extent authorized by City Council, committees and commissions can offer advisory comments on the specific plan itself. These comments will be provided informationally to the Planning Commission and the City Council, who are tasked with the formal reviewing and ultimately approving, if, as Michelle said, if approved, the specific plan.
Okay.
And we had circled back with planning staff. The specific plan will go before the Planning Commission and Council at a later date than these comments on the draft EIR do. They may go in tandem with the final EIR, so staff will be watching that on your behalf, and I'm sure you'll have the news that gets out to the public about that process. So we do have subcommittees to review the specific plan. That can all happen after we finish this DIR effort, and those comments can be anything about the specific plan. I would say that you wish that the Council and Planning Commission to know your thoughts about.
Does anyone have any questions about that? Sorry. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? No. Okay. So let's go on with review.
Actually, I have a question before are we reviewing everything that was in the agenda packet?
Well, I think that's up to you guys, how you want to address it. When
Okay,
we did
so
the query, you kind of summarized and didn't.
Then I'm going to hold my question until after we figure this out.
Well, how does everybody feel? That's my question. Do we want to review what was in the agenda packet?
Wait, the agenda packet?
Well, I mean,
Oh,
what-
yes, all the questions?
yeah,
It was a lot.
I know.
We're going to be here all night.
Okay.
So my question was going to be, how should we review this? Because I don't think it makes sense for us to go through it now if we might go through it in August. Right? Like, what actually makes sense? How do we help you guys put a packet together? And I'm going to hijack my own question, which is usually not a good strategy, and say the questions that I submitted for the executive summary section, I found the answers later. And so I would like to revise those and say, this wasn't clear and it led to, my confusion in the executive summary. So it makes sense to, include the difference between a program EIR and a specific plan. Whatever those two things were called,
Right.
tell us what that is in the executive summary. Where before my comment was, nowhere in here do you explain what this is, and I don't know if some of these are optional versus, whatever. So that was my long-winded example. I have changes I want to make. I'm sure the other council committee members will have the same thing.
I guess I would be curious first for each of you to explain where you are in your process for the assignment that you accepted. And it would probably be nice if, as a committee, you decided that you felt like some were complete and you agreed on those and those are done, and next month we do the rest,
So
if that's possible.
in that case, can I propose that we look at the assignments page and just go through it, and we all talk about the executive summary, and then we all talk about chapter 1, and then we all talk about chapter 2, and then if we haven't read a section, we can just say it'll be in the next submission. I have read all of them but one, so I'm kind of excited to do this.
I bookmarked them all.
It's a start.
Sorry, did we want to look at the schedule of what everyone?
The homework assignment, so it was a table and it had who was doing what.
I have a question. So one of my comments in several of the chapters relates to the definition of the open space. And I would like it to be called out in the DEIR to reference back to the open space master plan. But the open space master plan will be completed until September, I believe, right? So Ken is supposed to come back to us in
Oh,
August, right?
that's the open space element. That's different than the open space
Oh,
plan.
okay. Oh.
Okay, the open space element is where they're changing the general plan to, they want to change the general plan to align with the new state laws in regard to certain things. That is very different than the open space plan.
Okay, but it
Although the
still
oak-
calls out
Yes.
the definition of open space, which we should be very comfortable with what that is going to state.
Yeah.
And then have all of these other DEIRs point back to that, so everyone is on the same page. We need alignment on that.
Yeah, and I don't feel that we do have
Yeah.
alignment on that. And I'm not, that's a really good point,
yeah.
Mary, and that's was one of the things I printed that stuff and I left it at home. Damn. So kind of where are we on that? Because,
That's a big, it's a gap that we have right now. And I just want to make sure we address that.
and remember, between the time that the program DER and EIR was accepted, and now we had Measure JJ. So that impacted what the program EIR, certain things in that, like where to build what and how to, what is included in mitigation specified by Measure JJ. So now that we're in the specific plan, the plan itself needs to match that as well as the EIR.
So I would think my suggestion would be, look at Christina too and see if she agrees. because the timing is strange and the draft DIR comments are due in September and the open space element is going to be brought to council in January, before January.
The open space element is due to be filed by, I think, January
Okay.
2nd.
So they'll probably see it in December, that you can make that comment very clearly in these DEIR comments, but you could also just email council directly and say, you know, these all need to be aligned. You guys pay attention when the time comes. Because I don't know what the planning staff is doing with the one and what the planning staff's consultant is doing with the other. I'm not in the sausage making of that. But do you think that's a good way to? Okay. Then you've covered yourself. You got the comment in the DEIR, but you're also telling council, like, look, make sure these are aligned.
Yeah, because we noticed that at our last meeting, we noticed that inconsistency.
Right, when we had Ken Johnson here, right?
And I think that's a really important part, especially around some of the strictures of Measure JJ and then what the specific plan is planning. Part of the area that was considered high habitat value, they want to put ball fields there. So that is really a contradictory between the open space plan and what Measure JJ said and what the specific plan is, which was just based on people sticking dots where they wanted to at a charrette. So I don't know exactly how to approach that. It's one of the things that kind of keeps me up at night and where I really haven't dug into all of this because it's like pulling thread from various cloth. So do we want to,
I would just like to follow up on what Erin said, because she had called that out 2 meetings ago. And as a result, I know we had some discussion, because I know I talked to you, Karen. Was it better to do the drilled down piece first and then go back to the higher up executive summer piece? Because we knew, number one, they were going to overlap a lot. And so I said I was going to do my personal ones. And I'm now finding, having gone through most of the reading, not all of it, there's a huge amount of redundancy. The same issues are getting called out through multiple chapters, and it's not terribly efficient to have to insert the same comments over and over again. I think, Anthony, there's a lot of greenhouse gas stuff that's spread through a lot of chapters, and the same comment will pertain to the things made. So I'm wondering, what is the best way to handle that? Because given that we all have limited time to do this, I was opting to do the detailed piece, but I'm already finding transportation is bleeding over into a lot of the other chapters. Certainly the biological elements do. Recreation, not so much. That's the one chapter that's fairly standalone for me. But given limited time, do you have any preference on that? Because quite honestly, I was going to reference the executive summary, if necessary, from my individual chapters, rather than doing what you talked about, just because you had, like I said, I remember when you called that out, that was going to happen. We all knew that was going to happen. And also the executive summary is really, really long because it basically has all the chapters in it. Right. So can we just talk about that too? Because I think that would get us to a better place. I think Michelle, I think you even mentioned, it's better to get the pertinent comments in at least once than it is to overcook it by the hierarchy, because it seems to me like the document is almost, there's different audiences for different chapters in a way. And I actually skipped most of that first set because they just seemed like they were going to be redundant to later things. But that's just my personal strategy. But my personal chapters often are very, very long also. And so part of it was just time. Anyway, that's just another piece of what the coordinated strategy for the group might be and how to best present it, because I agree almost everything that you would say about the executive summary is going to be in the individual chapters as well, at least once and sometimes 3 times. Yeah. So.
Michelle, were you the only OSEC member that was here for it's the program EIR, right?
Yes, since Barbara resigned, the only one that was here when we read all 6,000 pages of the draft EIR, and
As a body.
As a body, Yep.
That's what I'd heard.
And we
yeah.
also had at that time a citizens group of 30 people that read it and made commentary on it as well. And then the Planning Commission made their comments, and the council didn't accept some of their recommendations. And that prompted Measure JJ. So, and a shift of who was on the Planning Commission. So it was a long, tedious process. And I'll be honest, I'm having a really, really hard time facing working on this again. I really am. I keep carrying the damn books around the house and moving them to different places where they're in my way, trying to, and obviously I've been marking the chapters, so I know where everything is in here. But I'm having a really hard time just sitting down and doing it again, because part of it is that when we did the program, EIR, you know, they talked a lot about where, you know, all these different things and how they were going to mitigate this, that, and the other thing. Like, you know, and the reality was, you know, we're going to move the toxins all together and then pave over them where the roads are. And we're going to add 30 feet of fill, so the roundhouse has to be totally dismantled and rebuilt. And, you know, and there are all these different things. And, we had that charrette where, long before we went to Measure JJ, of where people wanted what, and then even after Measure JJ, where people wanted what. And it was really one of those things where you get a bunch of dots and you put them where you want them, you know? And so they just did part of the specific plan kind of based on where the dots were, you know, and I'm kind of a little bit not happy about that. And then there was the whole complicated issue of the high-speed rail yard, and was that going to happen or not? And that's still an issue, is that going to happen or not, you know? And throughout the things that you read, there's a lot of ambiguity about public space, open area, a conserved habitat. All those things are getting mushed up together. And there's also a lot of discussion about, well, we're going to have these trees or that trees. Oh, but how's that going to impact the cap? Because, you know, it hasn't been capped yet. The landfill hasn't been capped. And so there are so many moving pieces. And the reality that the developer or the owner hasn't moved forward with the projects that they are already on the San Francisco part, where they're already allowed to build by Slage Lock, and where they're already allowed to build a Candlestick, and that hasn't happened either. And so it's really difficult to get your energy up to delve into this a second time for me, and try to make stuff reasonable when I feel like I'm going to be dead and gone before they ever crack surface, you know? And there's so many new complications with sea level rise, learning about the new toxins, how dangerous it is along the corridor where Bay Shore was from lead deposition from gasoline fumes for the last 50, 60 years, 70 years, however long, 60 years, I guess the freeway's been there. And so it is an overwhelming task. And so we really need to, I think as a group, and me in particular, need to focus on the high points. And part of those high points are really a definition of terms, and also making sure that this and the specific plan absolutely honor what the people voted for with Measure JJ to the letter, because that's why there was an initiative in the first place. And that's going to be hard. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I feel like I've been slacking doing it, you know, because after we finished the quarry project, I was all like, okay, now we're going to do the Baylands. And I just look at it and I just like, oh, let's see, I think I need to go dump the garbage. Oh, I think I need to go mop the floor. Oh, wait, I don't feel good. I have a headache. you know, because I know myself and I'm doing all this avoidance and then I wake up in the middle of the night going, oh, damn. Oh, you know. So I don't know if you guys are experiencing that the same way I am, but I am been slacking. I admit it fully.
I'm not going to answer that. You need to stop slacking.
I know I got
Wait. No, it's important. You have a perspective that none of us have and most people in this town don't have. Michelle, you've got to hear me like this. I'm going to suggest that you start with chapter 9 because it is the comparison between the 2018 DEIR and this one. And so it will tell you which mitigation measures they threw out and and how they're being addressed. And it's interesting. And I have a feeling it might motivate you a little bit because it's scary. And the executive summary is overwhelming. It's good, but I recommend not starting with it because it is so overwhelming. You're making me cry too, by the way. Sorry.
I can't help but feel that this is part of why Barbara resigned. Because she worked so hard the first time around. It was unbelievable. And her husband did too, and then he got kicked off the planning commission because of what he didn't agree with.
Public meeting. We need you. The other thing to note, this is going to frustrate you to no end. They already have approval to cap the landfill, and it's separate and is out of Brisbane's hands.
Say that again?
It is out of Brisbane's hands.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
And a lot of those things are, you know, with DTSC and regional, oh God, all the acronyms, Regional Water Quality Control Board and, you know, Department of Toxic Substances and BCGC and, you know, I mean, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So having the luxury of reading all of your comments before I got mine in, and I do apologize, I did have something unanticipated come up in my life that got in the way. So I'm sorry for that, and I will get them in on time next time. I don't anticipate that happening. What occurs to me is, maybe just because of what I work in, but maybe if we could somehow categorize the nature of our comments, because it gets annoying having to put all those section numbers plus the chapter. Of course, there's two different ways to refer to the chapter. There's the 4-point thing and the other one, and then you got to get the page numbers. But it occurs to me there's certain categories of comment that are worth grouping almost, even if we only do it internally. And one is omission. You have not accounted for this environmental effect. And then the two is your mitigation's inadequate, or I take issue with that. And then I had a hard time with this, Michelle, because I knew that you would be able to do it in your sleep, but knowing the general plan backwards and forwards and the JJ and the consistency, they use the word consistency a lot. This is consistent with the general plan. And there were times when I wasn't sure where that logic was coming from. It's hard to know if you can't read through the legalese, but they have a very specific thing they're stepping through because they're using the skeleton of CEQA. And they even will call out in their chapters, this is not an environmental impact. I don't care if the rent goes up and Julie can't afford to live in Brisbane anymore. That's not environmental, it's socioeconomic. But then they bring it up that displacing people is something they're addressing, so that's confusing. But at any rate, maybe it would be helpful if we had kind of a checklist for types of comments and made sure that those were being, I don't know, chronological wasn't really working for me, going by page number, because there were just different types of comments that I was trying to do. Like, you didn't account for the shade that the buildings are going to throw, and it turns out that's a very trendy thing to do in the landscape and aesthetic section, and you can destroy riparian habitat by shading it and changing the temperature and the photosynthetically active radiation, and it can not just be 50 feet away from the building, depending on the angles in the sun. It can be a fairly significant difference away. There's absolutely nothing in there for that. And so, I don't know, it kind of made me think, when I read through all of your comments, there's kind of types of things that we're calling out, and maybe it would be helpful to make sure that that checklist was there, because I think I'm the only person on transportation. I mean, look, it's really long and involved. So I'm just going to invite anybody to jump in on transportation who wants to.
You know, Jilly, those comments were made in the original draft DIR
Which comment?
about the building shapes and the birds and all of that. As a matter of fact,
But we didn't see that.
no,
I've only
you've
seen
never
the one.
seen that.
So that's another,
do we
you know.
have in the archives a copy of the comments that we made on the original draft DIR?
So how many have there been, Michelle?
Well, for the Baylands, just the two.
Okay.
Because for years we didn't, I mean, nothing happened for a very long time. But there's been, they had the BBCAG group for a long time, which was trying to help, with the mitigation of the toxins and exploring all that. And, then we had many discussions about,
So why would they not include it in the more recent one if it already came up at the previous one? I'm just trying to
I
understand.
have no idea because I haven't
know?
looked at it yet because I'm just like,
Huh.
but you talking about it brings back that we did discuss this. You've got to know we discussed it. We had, Barbara, Glenn, so we had some heavy hitters. I was kind of the lightweight at that point, except that I was the chair that year. That
But
year.
I'm just
took us
trying
a
to-
year.
I'm just
go
trying to
through.
segue into the current task. Is it my job to go back and read all the comments from the previous DEIR and then to reference those in my current
Probably not,
commenting?
but I actually would like to, if we can get a copy of that, I'd like to see those because I would like to go back and see if they've been addressed.
I don't know how easy it would be to find just the comments that were submitted. I can ask the planning staff because we have some of the same planning staff. But aren't they supposed to, based on what I read, be incorporated into the final EIR? This was a comment, this is our response.
Well, yeah, but I never saw the final
But
EIR.
the council accepted it at some point after.
Did, and yeah.
When is this? Are we talking years ago or just a couple years
It
ago?
was my second year on OSEC.
2018?
No, we're talking 2011?
Oh.
2012? When, do you remember, Karen? It was like it was the second, I think it was my second year.
It just seems odd that they would leave it out of this version.
I just remember the whole year that I was chair, all we worked on was the draft EIR. That was it. For a whole year. Didn't get any of the other things that why I had come on the committee to do, like dark skies, invasive species, tree issues. All those things were all
So it
things.
must not have been approved or we wouldn't be doing it again.
No, the council certified it. Yeah.
So that one was to allow any housing, right? The general plan had to be changed via that EIR to allow any housing out there. Now this is a DEIR related to the specific plan, which that's as far as my planning knowledge goes. But it's a more detailed look at what they want to do than the last EIR.
The first EIR, draft EIR, included housing, and that they wanted to build a lot of housing. And then Measure JJ was the compromise on that. Because, the state and the county and San Francisco were trying to push, like 10,000 units housing on.
That hasn't changed, right? It's still the range is 1,800 to 2,200, not, okay. I don't know, someone was saying that it doubled to 4,400.
It's the number of residents expected from those 2,200 units.
Oh,
So
okay,
the population
okay.
will double, but not the number of
Units.
Okay, all righty.
Okay, so where do we go from here, team?
I don't know, I think it's kind of late in the game to kind of bring in
Yeah.
the past comments. There's no way we could reference all that. We only have less than a month to get
The rest of the
this stuff done. So staff can incorporate it into, yeah.
If you
some
got them,
form.
if we can get that. Oh, God, you know what?
It would be nice to have it.
I agree. I think it'd be interesting
Right.
to see them, but I think we kind of have to judge this document on its own.
Yeah, yes,
But
I
it's
agree.
also what we used to do the sustainability framework for the Baylands was the results from that draft EIR. And, you know, I don't know whether they have, you know, yeah. Okay, well, let's deal with what we have here. Changing glasses.
So the first couple of these are going to be awkward. It's not, probably not worth making comments on the executive summary. And chapter 1 introduces the project and gives you some background. So I'm not sure if there are any high-level comments on that, but we should open it up. Did anyone have high-level comments on the executive summary or the chapter 1?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Okay. And then, yeah, and then the general environmental planning and context, that was the one that really kind of delved into the regulatory bits and stuff, wasn't it? Sorry. Oh, no, that was the one that started with a really interesting history of the Baylands itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the context of the project and the environment. It was an interesting read, but very few comments, I think. It will happen on chapter 3. And then 4.1 is, you know, just a couple pages that talks about CEQA and the analysis. And then 4.2 is stuff that they ignored. It's like a page. And then 4.3, land use and planning policy. That was my section. So 4.3 talked about
Characteristics of the Baylands and surrounding lands and examines whether the 2025 specific plan would cause significant environmental impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Land use and planning is not really my jam. This was not my favorite section to do. There was some stuff about the flood, which you made really good comments in your other comments. But yeah, it was all the stuff that you would imagine. Road safety and commuting and, you know, just land use and planning. Sorry, that's not very expressive, but that's what it was. And then I don't know if anyone has questions on that one. 4.4 is population and housing.
Yep.
Did you have anything on that one, Anthony? Did you read it?
So what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to understand what's still pending or?
Or give opportunities maybe for people to ask questions if they have something that's like, oh, you had the, you know, transportation section and I had this question about transportation, or I
Okay.
haven't read it yet, or this is something that I'm worried about, and when you look at it, can you see if it's there? That's kind of what I was thinking we would do.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to read anything that I'm not assigned to.
Yep.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get to that one yet. That actually wasn't on my radar. I didn't have that marked.
Which one? 4.4?
4.4.
4.4.
Yeah, so I'll have to add that to the pile.
Sorry.
So should we do a quick status just of assigned chapters, just
Yeah.
to see if there's any vulnerabilities?
Yeah.
I know somebody mentioned that earlier. Just, are we on track?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not on track, but I will get on track.
So I've read all my chapters that were assigned to me, but I'm like Erin, rating them and commenting on them are two different things. So I'm now in the process of trying to loop back and, without getting really, really granular, put in a handful of comments. I don't see it being pages and pages, but trying to call out specific things. And I don't notice that other people are doing this, and maybe it's just my background, but I am researching things because there really aren't any references here. You make a statement and it's just there, so I go out and I try and confirm or flesh out.
And do they refer to the appendix at all? Is there?
I don't have the printed appendices for all these. The transportation appendix is the worst one because it's over 700 pages. I didn't think the biology appendix was that big. It seemed like most of the biology was fairly standalone. And recreation, I didn't feel like I needed an appendix. So I think I'll go back to transportation. I will just say will probably be my weakest one. It's not my wheelhouse. I don't know a lot about it. I took it because nobody else wanted it at the time. I have read it. I've read all of it. It doesn't really resonate with me. I have a very few things. I think the things that were most concerning to me, Aaron called out last month. Making Bayshore one lane, I think it's just a recipe for locking us in. I just don't see, I understand they're trying to not have all the throughput that will come from all the development because it will be completely gridlocked. But there aren't that many ways to get in and out of Brisbane if you live here. So I don't see how that's going to be that successful. We can't all take transit to do everything that we need to do, like shop for groceries.
I had that concern last month, and now that I've read the cumulative chapter that talks about all the other developments, both residential and office in the area, I'm terrified about transportation.
Yeah.
Quick comment, the Complete Streets Committee is reviewing the transportation
Oh, good.
section of the DEIR, so they'll have comments too.
Okay. I think that most of my comments that I feel comfortable making will be in the biological resources one, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I do find in general, there's a lot more discussion about how wonderful the other side of the tracks is going to be, and it's fairly light on the impact on the existing Brisbane. That's just what I keep finding, very, very light. And if anything comes up, well, there'll be a shuttle for that. Okay. But I think you're going to have a very divided community. I think it's going to be different demographically. I think it's going to be different in terms of the people that are there because of the jobs. But it just seems like an awful lot of the discussion in the chapters that I'm reviewing are all about commuting and people who work. And I know that we have an aging population in Brisbane because I looked it up. And I know they didn't address any senior housing issues at all. It's all economic categories. And I would hate to see people lose the ability to stay where they've lived all their lives because they can't compete economically with the high. I mean, I just look at what happened down in Menlo Park. We all had a front row seat to what Facebook did to Menlo Park. And granted, they didn't bring housing with them, but
We have a front row seat to what's happening in South San Francisco.
yeah.
That's kind of, it's huge, huge changes of, and it's gridlock. I hate going through South San Francisco.
But it's almost like the premise of the plan is people are coming. You have all these 2050 predictions. Deal with it. I mean, you can't not plan for it. So I find it hard to comment given that context. And that's why this exists, right? That's why Sacramento is shoving the housing down onto the peninsula because places like Atherton and Hillsdale don't want to change what they have, but people have to go somewhere. So yeah, it's hard. I think it's very hard to imagine what Brisbane's going to look like after this happens. It is hard.
I appreciate the comment you made about the community being divided. I didn't even think of that. I didn't. And that's sad.
We went
Yeah.
through that a lot when they developed the Northeast Ridge,
Yeah.
where people felt like, and we are still going through that with the Northeast Ridge, which is crazy, and this will be even more so. And we as people of Brisbane need to really work towards integrating the community to, one community and not have the different disparities that you see in San Francisco, and that's going to be an uphill climb. But, one of the things that's really hard too is, they'll come, people will come, and what our job, a big part of our job, is to make sure that they're safe. And that was my big concern and why I was personally against housing on the Baylands. It is really sick land in a lot of ways.
There's a
dangerous.
reason that it's available. Yeah.
Yeah, and And so, one of the things that we really need to look at, I mean, like, I can't believe how big the chapter is in here compared to the other ones, the number of, what is it, the visuals or whatever they call it, is like 4.6. It's like,
Aesthetics.
whoa,
Oh, that's
not
bad.
4.6, 4 point, the aesthetic chapter, 4.5.
Yeah.
It's like huge. I'm like, okay,
lots of
well,
pictures.
that's not the,
There's a lot
Oh, yeah.
of pictures.
yeah, the aesthetics aren't going to be necessarily good. But what just chills my heart is knowing the chemicals that are out there and the sea level rise and how poorly that, was constructed. But so that's kind of what I'll be focusing on, I think.
I think that's helpful. It gives me an idea of what the focus needs to be, because you're right, you just can't say I don't want change, and you can't even talk about socioeconomic, because this is, CEQA is environmental. It's all about environmental.
Yep.
So I think that's it. We know that there will be impacts.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe that will help me to focus better on the chapters that I have left.
yeah,
And the things you're frustrated about that aren't environmental, write those down and save them for your own private letters, right?
Yeah,
Because you brought up really good points, and it might not fit in with the DEIR comments, but it fits in.
with the testimony when it
Yeah.
comes up for
Yeah.
approval. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I was mentioning out in the nibble section prior to the meeting, I meet a lot of people when I'm walking my dog, and so we have casual conversations, and I've started canvassing people. I'm amazed at how many people don't know anything about this. I know, Michelle, and we're a self-selected group, and
Do you know how many times I've sat here and been the only person in the freaking audience?
don't know that they can comment on it.
Yeah.
So,
It's just like people don't want to necessarily be aware until it's a
but it
crisis.
could be denial too, yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard. That's hard, and which is why I really appreciate each and every one of you, and the work that you do and the care that you take. It's not easy. So, is there anything else we need to do on this now? I love all your binder clips. Can I have some?
They came from the city.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see.
So I think we all know what we have to do, right?
Uh-huh.
As far as the assignments, we just need to make sure we get it all in,
Yeah.
right, by the deadline. And then consolidate them and then walk through the document
Can I ask,
and decide which
staff,
comments.
are we being consistent enough in our format to minimize the rework that you need to do? Because this would be a good time to give us input on that. I know I changed up mine after I saw the other ones, but it is hard to do the parenthetical pieces and try and reference. that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I can take care of all the formatting you're doing. Just great for now. But remember to send them to me. You can CC everybody here, but
Okay.
send them to me, please.
Great, good
Thank
to
you.
know.
And do not CC the other members of the committee.
Right.
And is it, I know I had some late entries there. Is it worth going over any of that so that we're,
What you submitted wasn't necessarily condensed down to comments on the DEIR, wasn't, it was more of something for discussion?
yeah, kind of. It's sort of the same thing. I went down a rabbit hole and started doing some research because there were a lot of threads to pull on and
Yeah.
questions that I had.
Do you want to talk about them, Anthony? Go over your.
It might be helpful just so that
Yeah,
everybody has that
Yeah,
context.
let's do it.
Okay, so let's see. So yeah, so I was looking at specifically, let's see. Yeah, 410 greenhouse gas emissions, and so for some context, I found this very helpful to kind of get my head around it. So they're saying that it's 51,260 metric tons of CO2 are going to be emitted annually. And they're characterizing that as significant and unavoidable. For context, that's 72% of our current emissions today as they stand as of the 2023 emissions inventory. So sort of two ways to look at that. It's not insignificant, but at the same time, they're more than doubling and adding tens of thousands of jobs and getting away with less than what we've got now. So it's interesting context. That would represent, if you go back to our inventories, right now we're at what, 15 and change % reductions compared to the 2005 baseline. This would represent a net increase compared to the 2005 baseline of 45%. So not great. The breakdown, though, I found kind of fascinating. So it's 88+% of that is vehicles.
Really?
Yeah. And only 4.7 is construction. That's the amortized annual. But only 4.7% of that is construction.
So when you say amortized annual,
Right. So they've got, you know, two tranches, and they're basically saying we're going to split it up over a period of 30 years,
right,
which
So you multiply by 30 and it's-
right,
yeah.
right.
it ends up being
Okay.
2,000 something, right? So every year, you know, when you do it that way, it's about 4.7%. And, you know, we went over that with the quarry EIR. I think in a lot of ways that's kind of the wrong way to think about it, because it's already committed,
It's done, yeah,
it's
yeah,
done.
yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the way they're calculating. So
yeah. So
um,
that's important to call out.
yeah. So there's that, but I found that really striking, though. So they're projecting forward saying 88+% is vehicles, 4.7% is construction, 3.4 is solid waste, 2% is emergency generators, and 1.3 is everything else.
2% is emergency generators.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that I haven't submitted comments about, but I have some things to say about that as well.
It's because life sciences can't lose those cell stocks.
Well,
They
right,
have to keep those cells alive
but
24/7.
completely ridiculous to me that we're putting in that much battery storage, and we're still, and we've got a 2040 net zero goal, and we're like, yeah, new fossil fuel infrastructure, let's go for it, you know, like dead stupid.
Can I add to that? The usage logs for those generators, they say, and we will supply those to the city upon request. It's like, why don't you give those to the city every quarter or annually, so the city
Interesting.
can look for patterns?
Mm-hmm.
Because in 20 years, the city is going to forget that they could ask for those,
That's
right? Make it
Yeah.
mandatory. Don't
Make it push
upon
instead of pull.
request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and on that point, when I was crunching these numbers, you'll probably find this interesting. So the emergency generators figure alone, that's 2% of the Baylands annual. It's estimated at 984 metric tons of CO2. I always want to say megatons. It sounds cooler, but metric tons of CO2 per year. That is more than double what the Planet Geo estimate was for our local tree canopy. And that's including the 30% addition. So like that's completely blown just on emergency generators.
wow.
So good context, right? It's, I think, an important framing.
Trying to cheer us up, Anthony?
Do you know, I keep coming back to Aaron's point, and I know it, I don't guess I read that paragraph yet, sorry. The cumulative impact of the contiguous development and the overlapping development. And I keep thinking, just like the cell phone towers, there's not going to be enough juice. Are we just assuming there's infinite amount of energy to go in? And if they want to put in AI tenants, that they're just going to be sucking this massive amount of energy, and that's going to have no impact at all on the grid, so to speak? Is there no limit
Well,
to how
so
many people they can shove into small spaces and do this? And the GHG, obviously, it's not an artificial boundary around this development. It's all that development, all that air pollution that we're going to be breathing. We know which way the wind blows. It's coming our way. At least the windsurfing showed me that. And so they don't have to take that into account, do they? They don't have to look at the cumulative impact.
Well, it's just focused on this development, yeah. But on that point, I think it's actually it's important context, right? One of the reasons I think the vehicle number is so high is that they've done actually a very admirable job taking care of the energy needs of the development. And interestingly, so energy use is only 15 metric tons of CO2. And that's because of all the solar, that's because of all the batteries. It's really, well accounted for. And interestingly, I dug into that too. Effects of electricity is actually probably over accounted for because the calculations are based on PG&E's 2022 content label, which at that time they were running 95% greenhouse gas emissions free. But 23 and 24, they've gotten to 100%.
I wondered when I saw what happened at the federal level recently, rescinding the tax credits for clean energy nationally, having just heard that presentation from Peninsula Clean Energy, I can't help but think there's going to be an effect of all that money going away. Does that affect any of what you've been reading? Because there's not going to be nearly as much of a carrot for people to have the cars and the electrification of things and solar panels, because they literally, from what I understand, are just wiping it out. Effective after December, a lot of this stuff is going away.
Yeah. That's kind of a separate issue. They're, I think, not for the purposes of this development, not really banking on, that type of funding for individual
Because it's
households
not
and
at the household level.
Right, because it's not at the household level, exactly. But yeah, bottom line is, the savings are still compelling even without the incentives. So I think it'll put a hitch in it, but things will march forward. And I think, we're going to have to do everything we can to be that much more aggressive at the city and state level about these things with, the federal, the federalists asleep at the wheel, or actively maliciously trying to punch a hole in it. But so to that point about electricity, though, we may actually be slightly over accounting for electric emissions. And I dug into is it EMFAC? Is there a way to read that, or do we just go with EMFAC? MFAC? I don't know.
So many acronyms.
It's the Air Resources Board. It's their modeling software. And that's what most of the stuff is based on. I actually found it, downloaded it, and got it running on my system. So I've been running reports and pulling apart numbers.
That is a rabbit hole.
So exciting in the Walker household. It's just.
Oh, I know that you love that. I wish I had
Too
one
much
that I
TV.
felt equally engaged and competent to do. Yeah.
Well, so on that one, the models, I did some comparisons because I was curious what degree of EV adoption they're modeling for, and they, so I compared 2022, which is a known year, and 2043, which is the year that they're projecting everything would be completely done. It's very conservative. They talk about that in the DEIR, purposefully so that they're not sort of overstating the effect. But they're estimating, it looks like roughly 12.7% EV adoption in 2043, and I think that's very, very low, especially since the state's net zero target is 2045. We're in real trouble if we're only at 12-something%.
Be a lot of pre-owned Teslas available.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Good
There's a
price.
fire sale on right now if anybody wants one.
I'm sorry.
They're, yeah, you can pick them up for 15, 16K. Fantastic cars, but yeah, keep it for 9 years, it'll pay for itself. But anyway, so that's all context, right? We're doing some kind of like in the mapping that how they get to that 51,260 number. I think we're being overly conservative in spots, and potentially the picture could look a lot better in reality than what's being represented, but it's the future. It's hard to know. No one.
It's interesting that you call that out because one of the impacts of the shade, I was thinking like a biologist, Michelle. I was just assuming, hey, don't shade my Plantago erecta host plants. But actually, it becomes very litigious when a building shades the solar collectors on somebody's roof because of the disparity in the height of the buildings. And so you can actually model that. But you certainly wouldn't want to make it harder for people to have solar panels because these buildings are casting such huge shade footprints. So, Well, that's good. That's the most uplifting thing we've heard. And it does sound like they're doing that part right, because that does seem to come up in all the chapters I've looked at, that this is a whole new way to have a planned development that specifically addresses sustainability. So you can't really find fault with that, because clearly that didn't exist back when a lot of these towns were created. So-
Exactly. Yeah, and I said in my comments, I think in a lot of ways, it is kind of uplifting because it's potentially a model for how to do this sort of thing. And those parts of it I think are really sort of exciting, but it does put into stark contrast the vehicles issue. It's the part that we're getting wrong still, and sort of how do you deal with that? How do you think through it? And the next part that I came to was about offsets. And that is the solution that's proposed in the AR. Basically, the EIR claims that the only remaining feasible measure to close the gap is to purchase emissions offset credits, right? And on that one, I think it kind of puts us in a box I don't think we should give up so easily, and restructure it so that it's a bit more flexible, so we can have, leave the door open for other solutions as well. But I can get into that some more. So basically, as written, the EIR only allows carbon offsets and only from 3 specific registries as a formal solution. And it's nice that they're looking at offsets and actually articulating a strategy. I think that was good, and they go into quite a lot of detail and all that. But the structure I think is just too restrictive. Basically, so one of the stipulations in there is, I think commendably they spell out, well, okay, let's prioritize in order of city, county, Bay Area, state, and then rest of US, and we're not going to do any international, right? So that you have those local co-benefits. I think that's really important. But I dug into that, and unfortunately, the reality is that that prioritization seems likely to prove essentially functionally impossible most of the time. With basically state and national being sort of the only available options in most cases. And so, yeah, this was what I sent along, my findings from that, sort of at the last minute. Sorry about that. But I actually reached out to each of those 3 registries that were, in there, and they essentially said, what was it? So none of them identified existing carbon offset projects in Brisbane. That was one of the big things I was sort of curious about, whether or not there was even anything. There isn't. Most were state of California at best. only Climate Action Reserve, which is one of the registries, had 3 Bay Area projects. One was in Sonoma, one was in Napa, and one was San Mateo County. All 3 confirmed that offsets must be purchased through third-party project developers. The registries themselves don't sell credits directly, so there's third parties involved. You've got to get specialists involved. There's this.
And do we expect these people to still be in business for the next 20 years?
Well, this is one of the points. 2 is that the really tricky part about this as a long-term strategy is that the offset markets really only function if there are enough real verifiable emissions reductions available to sell as credits. And so, I think the further we go down this progression, right, toward net zero society, right, the pool of viable offsets, I think is, it's expected to shrink significantly. And as everybody's trying to meet these targets, as we get closer to 2040, 2050, there's going to be, a real crunch where, many analyses are sort of predicting, right, rising prices and even a risk of a total market collapse, where there just isn't enough supply for the demand.
Well, AI, I mean, if they can't come up with green AI, it's just going to be a train wreck.
It's
particularly because they choose to concentrate it in our area. It's like, go away, go do it somewhere else.
Well, and I mean, that you raise a really good point there, and I think that's one of the big inherent dangers of having that as your only solution.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, I mean, 2043. Oh, I might still be alive, but the whole thing is going to change, and if we don't, never mind. Doesn't matter.
Can I ask a question? Could they try, I don't know what counts as a carbon offset project. Could their battery farm be one? Could this be a giant self-licking ice cream cone?
Well, so maybe that is one thing that I asked about as well. And they, so let's see, they each maintain searchable databases, which I did include links to if anybody wants to go and check out what's there. I did that so that you don't have to if you don't want to, but yeah, they said while it's technically possible to develop new offset projects, you can totally do it. It just involves a lengthy and complex process of documentation, validation, and verification, right? So we could absolutely develop a bunch of projects in Brisbane, but I think it would probably get to a kind of a situation where, okay, can we get it verified and in the registry in time for this development, to buy them, to make the offset, to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So the offset, is this a number game? Or it's a number game?
Yeah, it's essentially an accounting.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, thing.
okay.
So, yeah. And they.
So who
and-
does that, I mean, it doesn't really help us. We're going out and buying credits just
Well-
to get our number down.
For someone else to plant a tree, we get a credit. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh my-
That's essentially
okay.
how it works. That's right.
Right.
And
Saturate our tree planting capacity.
well, and I mean, a lot of these offsets are some flavor of forestry, right? So, for example, our tree canopy thing,
Yeah.
if we filed all the paperwork and did all the stuff, we could potentially get it there,
The numbers don't make sense.
right? But I mean, I just don't know if we'd have enough land to plant enough trees to really sequester enough carbon to make it make sense, right? It's a thing we could do, though. But so, let's see. And the other thing that all of them mentioned was that there was a concern about long-term viability and supply of carbon offsets. They sort of agreed with me there, and let's see. yeah. Yeah, long-term viability and supply of carbon offsets, especially as demand increases in a transition to a net zero economy. So, yeah, I mean, just really quickly going through them, all of them, like I was basically trying to run the thought experiment, well, what if we did this today? What would that look like? And any one of them, they did have enough projects that we could cover that year's, needed offsets. But the first one, American Carbon Registry, they had 6 projects in California. All of them are forest management. Let's see, Climate Action Reserve, they had 54 California projects, 4 Bay Area, so Sonoma, Napa, San Mateo County. They had forest management, reforestation, and livestock. And then Vera, the last one, had 2 California projects. And both of the projects were a foam stabilized base and emulsion asphalt mixture for pavement repair to highways. They're apparently parts of Interstate 580. So, I mean, what that sort of said to me looking at that makeup is, if you've got 3-4 projects in our direct area and we're trying to prioritize, Bay Area, San Mateo seems like a gimme, but that's one project. The more competition enters the market, the less certainty there is that we could actually secure a project of the right size and in the right place.
The reality is, though, it's not going to really probably break ground for a while here, for quite a while. And it changes everything. The whole game changes and changes and changes. Look how much has changed since they first, a long time ago, when they first wanted to build something. And then, so I think that leaving it as flexible as possible, having a real-time solution for now, should it actually get fast-tracked, but also leaving it very flexible for the future, because I think it's going to be a ways in the future. I think we have a lot of hurdles to pass before then.
Can we share references, since they're not comments, without violating the Brown Act, Karen?
Say that again?
So if individuals are doing some mini research, can we pool those references without violating the Brown Act, since they're not comments, they're just references?
Well, so those were shared in the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just said that we're not supposed to email each other, so I just want to make sure. That's an exception, right? If,
Well, Anthony emailed us and Dolores forwarded that.
okay,
Yeah, as long as we funnel it through them, I don't think it's a problem.
okay, just
Yeah.
a question.
And it was, I don't know, was that 72 hours ahead? Maybe not.
Well, we'd posted the agenda.
Yeah.
So that was, and the packet,
Right.
so that was the challenge.
So actually, I have a question for you, Michelle, because I've been trying to find it, but there's such a lag between when things get published and when they happen. The whole thing about the bay checker spot butterfly. Are there any viable populations in San Mateo County? If you go back
Yes.
mid-2000s, it says no, and then it says yes, and then Edgewood, they keep trying, and then I know San Bruno Mountain, so they have adult breeding populations that are viable on San Bruno Mountain right now? Or only on Edgewood, or?
No, at this point, we have the bay checker spot on San Bruno Mountain. It's a reintroduction of
Right.
that.
That's the literature I've been reading, but I
Yeah.
only get up to 2023 and I can't get any further.
Because they're still studying it. We're
Well, and
looking at 'em,
because
but
they
we
can
saw a
become
lot this
locally
year,
extinct in a year or two,
you know,
so I
but
wasn't
to
sure.
say, oh, it's a viable population, or it meets the criteria, or how long is it going to be viable? It's hard to say.
My sense is it's an awful lot of work. That work has been funded,
Yeah,
but it's a huge amount of
Yeah.
person hours and work and effort and
Yeah.
monitoring.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, I mean, it's,
because there was a time when they said there were no bay checker spot
we're none.
in the entire county.
Oh, I
Only
don't know
that little
about the rest of the
population
county.
down in Morgan Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Uh-huh.
Edgewood, I think, is gone.
I don't think that the Edgewood repopulation program has gone as well as the San Bruno
Mm-mm,
Mountain
it doesn't
one
seem
has.
like it. Okay, Just wondered, because they really played up the other butterfly species and they really dismissed the bay checker spot. I thought that was interesting.
Probably because when the draft DIR, the first one was written, the bay checker spot was not on San Bruno Mountain. It had been extirpated.
That's what I mean. This changes so much, and the context of the comments really
Right.
vary with that. Okay.
And at that point, though, the Calliope was still in Ice House Hill. Which
Because they have their own plan, right? That's the thing about the bay checker spot. It has its own habitat plan, not the habitat conservation plan for San Bruno Mountain, but its
Correct.
own species plan. Okay. Because I don't think they called that out, and I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
Can I just make a couple of
Yep.
other
Sorry.
points to wrap this up? So I just want to say, like, in sort of bringing it all around, the solution seems to all but guarantee that, you know, this money would leave the community, which I think is not ideal, you know, and sort of goes against I think the spirit of that prioritization that they're laying out, you know, starting with the city and the county and, you know, et cetera. You know, so, but the bigger issue to my mind is that it, you know, it sort of fails to, it's trying to solve for we've got too much emissions, but fails to directly address at all the fact that we've got almost all mobile emissions, right? There's no direct solution for that. We're not actually trying to solve it. We're just doing this sort of like money game off to one side.
Okay.
And, you know, basically completely ignoring that, saying like, well, it's too hard, in favor of, you know, essentially a fancy accounting trick that funds forestry and highway projects in other communities elsewhere.
And ultimately, who's gonna pay for that?
Right. I mean, it's going to have to be fixed at some point.
Can
right?
can you request that the developer pay for that? And if you do that, then
Well-
they'll come up with some other projects that would.
Well, I mean, so that's the thing is like, that is the developer paying for those offsets. So
Okay. Oh, they
you know,
are.
my thought there is
You're-
offsets should, to my mind, really be treated as a last resort. Like, we really can't do
Yeah,
anything
no,
about
I
this
get it. It
locally.
doesn't do anything for us. It's again, it's a number game.
Right.
So
Once we've really exhausted all possible avenues of
What
of
would be a
mitigation.
better way to mitigate the emissions? To increase the EV percentage? That would be an
Run-
obvious one.
Run a shuttle between SFO and those hotels that's not hotel specific, right? That does the whole Baylands.
Just
and
like with the
also-
employer shuttles, make them more
Yep.
agnostic.
Yeah, and maybe have the developer, instead of the money they're spending on offsets that could go anywhere, you know, put that money into that shuttle system.
Well, so that's one really great specific.
Because transit is so north-south.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
So that's where it breaks down, is when people need to stop and go shopping on the way home, then they get in their cars. And you have to think about it that way, I think, is where the car trips
Yeah.
are coming from.
I mean, that's a really great specific solution. But I mean, kind of my thinking though is, you know, we've been doing all this talking in the climate subcommittee about, you know, a climate resilience fund, right? And this is exactly the kind of thing that would feed a fund like that.
Okay.
You know, and I think that's probably a much more flexible way to approach it, is say, you know, what would those offsets cost? Okay, here's a fund you can contribute to, and then, you know, we can figure out however that implementation arm of that is structured, you know, what specific projects get funded from there. But, you know, regardless, I mean, that's still under discussion. I think, you know, leaving the door open to some way of keeping that money in the community, that in a way that will directly benefit the community and bring our emissions down locally, is the better way to go. And that's, you know.
The thing that we have to remember when we talk about the developer, it may or may not be BDI.
right.
They're the representative of the owner who is seeking the right to build, seeking the, you know, doesn't mean that they're going to be the ones who are building it. They'll be probably having developers come in and build certain sections of it, Like right now, they don't have a developer to come in and build the housing up at Schlage. So whatever we do in terms of all of these different funding or whatever, really needs to be self-sustaining, because look what happens when the developer leaves. Like all the problems that happened at the Northeast Ridge that are still happening at the Northeast Ridge, but the developer's long gone, the builder's long gone, you know? And so, you know, paying for offsets, well, you have to have a mechanism to fund continuing to pay for those offsets. Just like we tried to have a system to fund paying for the HCP, which obviously it has been very inadequate to do. And so the whole discussion of offsets really puts me off, because we need to be able to fund it. This development could bankrupt the city if not done properly. And one of the things that's really important in here that we really need to remember to look at is the whole chart about timing, you know, of like, these developments are all staged so that they have to complete this thing before they can go on to this thing, before they can go on to this thing, before they can go on to this thing. And that is going to take a while. And is the quote unquote, is the BDI going to be the responsible party this whole time? They've changed their name 10 times since I first met Tuntext. Okay. And I'm not that old. Well, I am. But, you know, so we really need to look at this not just as a, oh, well, we trust them. Oh, they're nice people. We need to look at this, the long game, because that's what they look at. It's who the owners of the property look at, is the long game. So we need to do the same thing, especially when we're making our comments and saying, oh, no problem, we'll just buy some offsets. Doesn't cut it for 2043. Doesn't cut it for 2063. Okay? Just like now, we're looking at the marina and we're like, oh yeah, okay, cap's sinking. Yep, we got a lot of work to do, and it's, who's going to pay for that? Oh, the city. So, and a development agreement or development agreement funds, they're gone. It's a one-time deal.
That's why it's important to, I brought this up with the quarry meeting and submitted a request, is the financial projections for all of this, right? And break-even analysis. And what's it going to cost the city, you know, and what's the tax revenue? All that will inform the type of decision we need to make on these projects. So.
And when the roads start breaking down where they've used the pavement to cover the toxins, who's going to repave the roads to make sure that those toxins don't come up and your kid steps in them when they're crossing the street?
I was thinking of how much damage is going to be done during construction with all that heavy machinery on it.
Oh, we
Who's gonna pay
discussed
for
all of
that?
that at length, believe me.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to have special pile drivers or what, I don't know. You know, and so it's not to be taken lightly. I so appreciate your work, but it really brings up the long-term considerations that we have to look at. 3 companies, how long are they going to be around? And projects all over the place? Yeah. Offsets, you're absolutely right. That's not the way to go.
Yeah.
That's the easy answer for the developer to get their entitlements.
Well, and the reason they went with those 3 is that they are recognized by state of California, right?
Currently.
So they, yeah, exactly. But, you know,
They didn't exist when the original draft DIR
right.
was written.
And yeah, I mean, that's why I think, you know, my recommendation there is going to be to, you know, let's open it up a bit, make it a little less strict so that we have some flexibility to, you know, as things go on, what if, you know, one or more of these registries go away or fail, or, you know, the market implodes or whatever, we've got, you know, the flexibility to explore other options, right?
Yeah. Okay, now that we're all depressed, what do you want to go do next? Is there anything else that we should discuss on this? I mean, we kind of all know what needs to get done and what we can do, and sort of a point of view of how to approach it. Are we ready to move on to the next thing?
So I just want to paraphrase what I think I just heard from you guys, that when it comes to any proposed mitigation, we need to put on our long-term, short-term hats and our funding hats. And so I don't think they tend to phrase it that way, but you need to look at whether they have the resources, financial and people and other ways, and that they have explicitly called out the timeline. And I do know that Mary in the last meeting asked for where that timeline was. You started to open your thing. Do you have it bookmarked? Is there?
I do have a bookmark.
Okay, I would love that page number because I was hunting for that. I know there's dependencies and things have to happen for others, but is there actually something that looks like a timeline? Because I thought I saw
There,
that early on, and I
there-
couldn't find it
There
again.
is one in the greenhouse gas
Okay,
chapter. It's specifically couched around emissions,
okay.
but they have, it's table 410-3.
Perfect.
And that's
Thank
on page
you.
41030. That goes through basically starting with site grading in 2025 and each year going through phase 1, phase 2. The last step in phase 2, they're saying projecting 2042. And then, so the idea being it's all wrapped up in a bow and, completed by 2043.
Is the housing construction concurrent with the commercial? That's what I thought. Those
Yeah,
really
and
aren't
that's
separate
included in
phases.
there too. So you've got individual years, they've got estimates for how many housing units they're planning to complete in each of those years, and then how many square feet of office.
So Mary called that out, the dependency of the housing impact on transit and traffic congestion. That's important that they get that right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and it's totally fair. Like the numbers that we were talking about earlier are, annual averages. So it will absolutely be the case that some years just a lot more gets done, and suddenly there's a bigger impact, and then there may be a subsequent year where it's a smaller impact, and but they're sort of averaging it out over the.
Yeah, because the worst thing would be to create all the jobs and not have the housing, and then we know what will happen. But it's hard. I sometimes see the nuance of what they'll say as if they can't get tenants, then they can't sell the space that they built. And it's hard to project that too, so.
I had it marked and now I'm not.
Yeah, I
finding
saw you
it.
going for it and I thought, okay.
Page 3107 is relationship between land development, open space recreation, amenities, and roadway improvements phasing.
Phasing.
Are you getting in the mic?
By year, but it says these things have to get done, and before the city has to grant a permit for phase 2. So,
Right.
It kind of looks the things that have to get done in phase 1. That the permits for phase 2 stuff wouldn't be granted until the permits for phase 2 stuff wouldn't be granted until the phase 1 things had been completed. So
Yeah.
it gives the city a little bit of authority there.
Got it.
There's a lot of stuff that's not there. And that was page 3-107.
Got it.
Sorry, I was talking with the mic off and nowhere near it.
3-107. Okay.
Yeah, the chart that I was looking at, though, I don't know how much of it is, just sort of estimates versus firm expectations or requirements or what. But in that chart, they're representing it as 2025, 2026 would be site grading. And then phase 1 runs from 27 to 37. And
Wait a
then,
minute, they only had 2 years for site grading?
Yeah.
That is not what's in my sections.
Really?
Oh, no, it's a long time. They have to do the whole landfill cap. They're gonna take all the dirt off the landfill in order to start grading the east side, and then they're going to pull the dirt off half the landfill, cap that side, push the dirt to the other side, cap that side. There's no way they can do that in 2 years. I think it's 10 years of
Wow.
grading was expected in my section.
Maybe that must be happening concurrently and as part of the phase 1, then that's got to be, if that's
Yeah.
the case, yeah.
Yeah, I think all that's gotta happen in phase 1.
Well, okay, so then 25, 26 must be just like initial site grading before they can do like the first part of something or.
Probably, yeah. It's probably the majority of the dirt moving to the the west side of the Caltrain tracks, yeah.
Yeah, there's some tables in there. I think there's table 3.7 that talks about phase 1 and then phase 2. And that's on page 3-107. And on the next page, there's table 3.8, anticipated construction sequencing
There we go. Sequencing,
of the
phasing.
Bayland residential
permitting.
commercial buildings
Okay.
assumed for impact analysis purposes. But there are other ones too, and there's like, and some of that is prescribed by Measure JJ as well. So,
I mean, I think to some degree, it's got to be
yeah.
estimates though, right? Because
Oh,
who
yeah.
knows, they
You
start.
think they're going to break ground in 2025? Guess again. That would be between now and December. No, that's not happening. Okay.
Early Christmas present?
Oh, yeah, Merry Christmas. Okay. So, are we time to move on? Yes. Everybody feeling like energized to? Okay. Call me if you get compassion fatigue and I'll cry with you. Okay. Environmental proposal for Brisbane Acres Vegetation Management, new business. That's exciting.
Yeah, it took a little while to get this from RECON Environmental. I know that,
Just gotta ask a question. Is this the group that did it last year?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I know there were some comments about the presentation last year, but I think they are qualified and they're interested in coming back to do vegetation management in the acres again this year. So their proposal is pretty similar to focus on target species. I don't know if I guess they didn't list them, and monitoring for new species of concern and population. So they're in the same areas, the East Harold Road site, the center Humboldt water tank, Margaret water tank site, and West Margaret Upper Paul Avenue site. And do the presentation, kind of recapping the work they've done after that and letting the committee comment on anything about their work. So I guess the question tonight is for you, are you willing to approve this proposal, or do you want them to focus differently on the acres, or are there any particular species of concern that you would like to see them prioritize?
So just to go over this so everyone's clear. Task number 1 is East Harold roadside herbicide treatment and mapping of target invasive species, site monitoring for new species of concern and populations, and then there's the Brisbane Central, that's the Humboldt water tank site, and that's herbicide treatment and mapping of target. So what do they mean by mapping of target invasive species? They're not going to remove them? They're just going to map them?
No, I think they're mapping as the county wants them to note in CalFlora everything they remove.
Okay, but they're going to work on removing them. Okay.
yeah.
So the second area is the central water tank area. Does anybody know, do you need to know where these sites are? Or are you guys familiar enough with that? Okay. Central Brisbane, that's the herbicide treatment, mapping of target invasive species, site monitoring for new species of concern and populations. Work areas include city-owned parcels between Harold Road and Margaret and Upper Paul Avenue sites. And are they aware that we have a couple of new parcels there, Karen?
The ones that we acquired a couple of
Last
years.
week?
I don't think we've completed the purchase of those yet.
Okay, well, okay,
So depending on when they start,
okay.
yes, and we should be
There's
thinking.
5 new parcels that we have. Yeah, it was very exciting. And then the west, section number 3, task number 3 is the West Margaret Upper Paul Avenue sites. Herbicide treatment, including foliar and cut stump treatment and mapping of target invasive species. Site monitoring for new species of concern and populations. And that's it.
Let me
the-
make one further comment, because I was tasked with taking a look at those sites and report the 5 that we are going to purchase, and going back to the city manager with whether any of them had significant issues for the city. And the 3 sites near the Glen Park tank and the boundary with the county have really nice social trails, which our habitat manager uses to access the properties. But the 2 by Harold do not. So if anyone knows who's building social trails, we're gonna need them on those properties for that. That one is very steep on Harold. So it's gonna be challenging in the future.
Yeah. Harold is that road that goes out above Bay Shore, over in the farther acres.
Kind of the southwest ridge, we call it, and where Annis extends, turns into a dirt road, private. So we're buying 2 downhill from Harold.
Yeah. So that's a tough area. Okay. Oh, and, oh, wait, we have, what's this, section 4? Why is that on another page? Oh, well. Reporting and permits. God, I hate glasses. Why can't they just fix my eyes? Okay. Perform required surveys and submit permit application to obtain the site activity permit, preparation and presentation of the project, yada, yada, yada.
What did we pay him last year?
Yeah, great question. I think the budget was the same last year, and their cost might have been a little bit less.
I think their cost was a little less. Okay, and so the total cost is 24,740 according to this. So do we just approve it, or?
Yeah, it actually is in your bylaws to approve the vegetation management in the Brisbane acres.
Okay. Are there questions?
What invasive species specifically are they killing?
Usually they're looking for broom,
Okay.
ivy, fennel. Do they have them on here?
I didn't see it. I was looking for it. but
Cibotta
I
and pampas.
went through it pretty
pampas, maybe?
quickly.
Yeah.
They've
do
treated
they-
eucalyptus sprouts.
Eucalyptus sprouts, yeah. They're also supposed to take care of, if they see trees like, we took out a lot of pine trees that didn't belong, and, last year, and some other things like that. I was a little concerned last year because I wasn't sure they really knew the area well, but mostly broom and a few other things like that. The usual suspects.
Yeah, and it was their first year doing it, and, we lost the institutional knowledge of our, let's call it our habitat manager, kind of like the Habitat Conservation Plan has, in a way, a consistent consultant that have been doing it year over year, but they are getting to know it better, and they should be doing better and better each year.
Yeah, and Karen kindly looked into the plant identification app that they were using, and
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're it's okay, it's pretty accurate, and so yeah, I think we've got to get the work done, and I think that there's not a lot of companies out there doing this anymore. I mean, we
What
sure
kind of
miss
pest control?
Mark Heath, but he's not doing it anymore either.
It said pest control. What are they?
Pardon?
It says they do pest control. Do you know what they're killing there?
No, I don't think they're doing pest control for us, are they?
No, just herbicide.
It's just one of their specialties. Okay.
This is a larger company, and they do a lot of different projects up and down
Yeah,
the
they do
state.
fences.
Yeah. So, no, for us, it's vegetation, no animals. And we'll have the same team that we had last year, do you know?
Yes.
Okay. So they did a lot of learning last year in the program. And yeah, we have to train them. We have to get them to grow with us and make them want to stay for a long enough that training helps. We had, just for you guys who hadn't been around for long, we had very stable group that was doing the habitat restoration for a very long time, Shelter Belt, with Mark Heath, and he knew this mountain like nobody's business. Really excellent, excellent. But he sort of aged out of it, as did Mike Forbear. So, we have to get new people to learn it.
So follow-on question to that, we are also losing some very important institutional knowledge. So now we're going to have our vegetation management guys who have done this for 1 year, and then Karen's going to leave. So how are you going to pass this torch?
Well, luckily we have a couple of people on the committee that have an extensive knowledge of biology and plant. And you guys probably know more than I do and have asked really good questions of our, habitat managers, vegetation management teams, and have honed what they're doing. So, I don't know if all of you know all of the invasive species up there. Some of you live close, and you're on that mountain too. So that's kind of how we refined it with Shelter Belt. Is the committee would say, well, what about this? Can you deal with this? Well, that's not as easy to eradicate, but we can do this instead. And I think that's how you refine the process. I am not that expert, so I just have a lot of knowledge about it, but that's all kept online now, and it's available to our new team.
Yeah. It was hard because when we took this on, Mark Heath really already knew the mountain, had done a lot of work on the mountain, and had worked with, the HCP and everything else. So we were really, really fortunate. But, so we just have to train the new guys.
And one thing about Mark to keep in mind is he retired his company that actively does this work, but he still consults from time to time. So
Yeah.
if you need him, you could ask to
Can
get
we?
his services.
Okay.
Yeah. You have a budget, and if you need more money than that, you'd have to go through that process. But he would still probably want to help as a consultant.
Karen, will you make sure you send me his contact information?
Yeah, sure.
And maybe to the whole committee? I wouldn't reach out to him unless you knew we needed him, but I would just like to have that available. So
Why don't
that-
I send it to you and then make sure staff has it?
Yes, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we have a motion to accept the proposal?
I will make a motion to accept the proposal.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nays? No.
Thank you.
Spend that money.
Okay. And let's go on to staff updates.
Hello, committee. I'd like to share a quick, can explain better than I can.
I hope you invited her to come for water aerobics.
She might go. I don't know. Yeah, she's a swimmer. So she loved the pool that was outdoors. It's always very warm. So she was very happy, very kind. As you know, when we look at the greenhouse gas emission levels overall, housing and transportation make up the biggest piece of the pie. So the focus of many sessions at the conference was about how to reduce these levels as much as possible. On a positive note, fun fact, California now has more EV charging stations than gas pump nozzles. Pretty cool.
And Brisbane certainly does.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny.
Since we have no nozzles
Yeah.
anymore.
We have about 180,000 EV charging stations and around 120,000, I think, gas pump nozzles in the state of California. And the state of California has now sold over 1.5 million zero-emission vehicles. And as the fourth largest economy in the world, it's very exciting to be leading by example. Brisbane is also leading the way as being one of the very first communities to adopt their climate action plan in 2015, as many communities at the conference were still in their initial stages of creation and adoption. So that was pretty cool. A few challenges that were discussed. Renters make up about 40% of the housing population here in the Bay Area, which makes it hard to electrify these homes, as you all know. A nonprofit in Pomona presented on their program in which they provided electric appliances to their low-income renters. And Truckee shared their successes in developing trainings for their local workforce, such as contractors, in how to install and maintain electric appliances, which was very cool. And as we all know, another big challenge for everyone right now is cost, with the overall theme being that PG&E and Edison, which is Southern California's electrical supplier, their costs just continue to rise, and it's very hard with no clear methods for local or regional people to really counteract this. So overall, it was a great conference. It was at no cost to us as government employees, and it was really fun to spend some more time with Dolores, and we got to take the Caltrain Rapid Express train, so that was really neat. But we're happy to share. I can share any of these links, or we can chat about it at any time. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, can you please share out those links? I'd like to follow up there. Thank you.
Also, I'm really glad you guys went to that and brought us back the feedback about, you know, how exciting Brisbane's little role is fitting in, because we are a tiny little town in this state and we do have some really cool stuff. And so that is a thank you to staff, Karen, Adrian, and the new folks for being interested in pursuing this. So thanks, guys. And you too.
All of us. I mean, we're groundbreaking with our sustainability plan, our climate action plan, our dark skies ordinance. You have no idea how many people call and ask about that. And
I'm really glad we got that in before this draft DIR too,
yeah,
by the way.
and the invasive species ordinance inclusion in the fire ordinance, and lots of cool and gravy stuff. Next. Yeah.
Quick update on the building efficiency program. We're closing out our annual benchmarking season. It was due in May, but we have some few stragglers. We're at 91% compliance as of now. Only 5 buildings outstanding. So we should be at 100 hopefully by the end of August, fingers crossed. The reporting is due to the CC in August as well. Another thing that I wanted to mention was that I only have 3 signups for Dark Skies hike. If you know anybody who wants to go, I'll have Caroline put in the blast again next week. But yes,
I'll bring the wine.
Bring some, yeah. Oh yes, at our RICAPS meeting, it's our regionally integrated climate action planning group. They mentioned that they're going to have some materials for residential electrification that will be coming out in September. So look out for that. Just sort of informational things for encouragement for electrification in residential homes. That's it on my end.
What's the date of the Dark Skies Walk again?
August 11th.
I'm going to throw out there that we could double advertise from that area, which is behind my house. You also get a really great view of the Baylands, the whole thing. So in addition to dark skies, it's a good way to imagine, you know, that I'm going to try to put a 20-foot tall building here, and what view is that going to block? And, you know, if people are looking at the bay this way, are they still going to see this feature? And just get an idea of the scale of it.
Yeah.
You know, the pictures in that are good, but you don't really get the 3-dimensional aspect either.
Do we have a flyer for this?
Yeah, the flyer is online on the OSEC calendar.
Okay. Because, and it's a JPEG?
I think it's a PNG.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. But yes, Erin, I'll have Caroline add a little blurb in about that too.
Yeah, and I'll post it on Residence.
Yeah.
Bump it up a little. Okay.
There'll be some beverages and whatnot too.
Are you guys all coming? Karen?
Absolutely. I said
Molly?
this will be my last.
Christina?
hurrah, you guys.
I mean, if just all of us came, we would have like 9 people for a party.
Actually, that's a really good point. Last year we stopped at the first parking lot, gathered people, talked about the dark skies ordinance, which at that point it was just like people had foundational questions. What is it? When does it go into effect? What do I have to do? So this is a note to myself as much as whoever wants to familiarize yourselves with the ordinance, because my guess is if anyone is there and cares, this is where they're going to try to ask the few questions they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also maybe we could get it in in the blast, when the blast is closer up. I think there's just been a lot of activities going on, so it's going right over. And do they have to sign up to come? Do they have to sign
I
up
think
to
we
come?
want that waiver.
Hmm?
I
I
think we
wondered if
want
there was
that
a waiver.
filled
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, but we filled out the waivers that night.
Oh, online. It helps to know if we need to shuttle people up.
Yeah,
But
okay,
Not absolutely necessary.
okay.
Is it dog friendly?
Huh?
It's all outdoors, right?
It is. There's some poison oak off the side of the road, so I would try to keep your dog on the pavement.
Okay.
Once we get up to the water tower road, past the fence or that chain. But other than that, it's dog friendly.
Good, thanks.
It's steep.
It's very steep.
She's a mountain goat.
No, I'm not. But I
Her
will.
role is to pull me up, Steve.
Okay. Any more staff updates? No. Committee matters? Okay, we have an event coming up shortly. Oh, did we settle on a time for our event committee meeting? I think we did.
Yes, I wanted to mention that. Erin, you haven't responded yet, and neither had either of you. Just for August 6th events, if you just, when you get a chance.
And at what time?
We had said 4 p.m., but let us know of any. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And the events committee at this time is just me and Erin. So who else wants to be with us on events? Anybody? You can come. Events are fun. Okay. Yeah,
Day in the park, all right?
day in
That'd
the
be great.
park. Yep. Anybody has anything they want to tell us that they would like to do for day in the park? Let me know. I think I'm going to bring my Barbie doll kitchen again, just for fun, since I still have it. With the solar panel I put on there just for you, Anthony. Okay. And then education and outreach. I saw a nice exhibit at the library.
I don't have anything to update, and we haven't met in a while.
Yeah, when would be when are we switching the display? Otherwise,
That'll be in September.
oh,
Is the
okay, got
next.
plenty of time.
So yeah, I'll schedule something with you guys in a couple weeks or so.
Okay. Can we go back to the other page again? Okay. And then climate action.
Scheduled a meeting for August, not 11,
Yeah, when was it?
someday that worked for everybody, the 18th?
It was like that sounds right,
The
mid-month
14th
14th, okay.
at 3:30.
Okay. And then the open space plan update. We actually should get together and talk about that,
Yeah.
like soon. Because, so can we try to schedule an open space plan update meeting?
I think we had backburnered that because of the DEIR.
Yeah, although because they're rewriting the open space element, I think that we kind of need to have a little meeting about that. I'd really like to have one.
So the open space plan element schedule, if I remember correctly.
Wait, those are two different things.
I'm
The
sorry.
open space plan and the open space element.
Okay, they are two different things I'm tracking. The open space plan the open space element is, I think the plan was he was going to present it to us in the August meeting.
yeah.
And then we were going to give feedback to him before September. Was that
To the
what we talked
calendar.
about? I
Yes,
think that
but I
was what was in
can-
the minutes.
I convinced him to come in September.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
so that'll be the September meeting. But there has been, I was approached by Ray Miller to have a discussion just about incorporating more of the open space plan into the open element of the general plan, which had been the plan all along, and it just didn't happen that way. So I wouldn't mind, I mean, I'm meeting with him on Friday, but I wouldn't mind us having a sort of internal conversation about, is that something we want to pursue? Because if it is, we should do that right away, or not. Or
Well, one, I think you can give that comment to Ken generally.
it seems to me that I did when
Did
he
you?
was here.
Okay. Just memory, I'm not sure.
But I will definitely do that, yeah.
So maybe we try to fit one in after the deadline for the DEIR?
Yeah.
Because now you've got Ken in September, so you got a little time to not try to squeeze it in.
Yeah,
Before
so
this
after
big
August
deadline.
13th.
But before August 22?
Would that make you guys feel better? Other staff? We'll try,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be good if we did it before you left, Karen, because you could rein us in and we might just,
This is ad hoc, so we can meet over Teams or Zoom. Availability of Julie, Mary, and Michelle seems to be after 3 p.m., 3:30. You're the one that has a, could you meet time in the afternoon generally?
Yeah.
3:30, tell us.
Julie's not on that committee.
that
I'm looking
committee
at the
is,
Crocker Trail, I'm sorry.
Okay.
that committee is Aaron,
Aaron.
Mary, and me.
So that's a late afternoon. Yeah, 3:30 or 4.
Except for Thursdays for me for a while.
Okay.
Okay.
Even if it's over Teams or Zoom, it's,
At this point, I can probably get back to Brisbane by 3:30 any day, right now. For the next month or two, at least.
Okay.
okay.
And then we have the Crocker Trail Frog Habitat.
So I did get a response to how my friend could donate money. Thank you for that. That came through an email. And then I think that I will just go yank some grass myself. I did reach out to Paul about just doing a steward-centric yanking pre-seed set. So I think if I don't hear back from him, I'll just probably go down there with Luna and yank some grass.
Oh, let me know. I'll go.
Okay.
Karen, did we ever get any kind of written, arrangement done
Yeah, that's my other
with
question.
the owner?
They kept putting it off.
I want it with the owner, not the tenant.
Yeah, that was the issue. Do you have owner contact?
I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look for that.
Randy Bro does. Better
Oh, he
get it
does.
before he leaves.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have the tree issues. Do we want to have a tree issue before you meeting? Karen, you're so busy. Who's taking over your slot on that?
TBD. Both of,
Smiley.
2 or 3 of the people at this table.
So maybe we should have a tree issue meeting and possibly invite, Mary, tell them what you got.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So, Christine, you're probably aware of this. South San Francisco, they have a great urban forest master plan. It has a lot of good data in here that we could use for Brisbane.
And maybe when we have this meeting, we could invite Keegan to come. Isn't he the tree czar now?
I don't know if that's his title, but he is the buildings and grounds team leader that is responsible for maintenance of public trees, planting of public trees.
Right, tree czar. So let's include him if we
Well,
can.
What do we,
We should just have a little confab and talk about what we're doing and what we're looking at and where we're going with everything. Sort of get whoever is replacing you in this role up to speed, and so that we don't drop the ball on it.
yeah, I gave him some background, but this one we could also do over Zoom or Teams, so maybe noon you can do, Mary? Or you can escape from work and come in person?
I can
or-
try, yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question. Did what was approved for the budget, for the,
Great question. It was
Tr-
approved.
It was
3
approved?
years to
3
do
years?
the high risk, yes.
thank you. Okay, that's
Well,
good.
the budget is for 2 years, so they approved the amount for the first 2 years. We'll have to ask for that third year,
Okay.
but yes.
All right. And was it like in the 500K?
170,000 for those 2 years, each year.
170 each year?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it 340? Okay. And what about the proposed canopy percentage for the long-term goal? Was that presented to council yet?
No, because we just did the budget, so
Okay.
that's still to do. But we had talked about the operating budget having in various public works accounts, having money, buildings and grounds, street trees, GBMID, Sierra Point, all having money to do tree maintenance. And sometimes people are requesting tree maintenance for public trees where they think something's a risk, and we're assessing those too. There are occasionally things in the report that we got from Planet Geo that, you know, the trees gotten in worse health since they did the report. There are a couple of areas they didn't get when we gave them a map of all of the property that they should be doing. So there is some of that money has to go to those things, but most of that money, since we have this $170,000 for 2 years, we can use most of that other tree maintenance money to plant trees.
Okay.
So we have a mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
and we hadn't really just gotten to the point with everything else going on to have the council approve what our canopy goal is. We can still aggressively go after it, though.
Thank you. That's good.
I'm not
That's good.
as worried about the goal as the doing, and we're doing. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really good. Okay, and then, well, Baylands specific plan, how fun is that? Let's just skip right down to liaisons. Do we have anything else on here that we need to worry about?
No, because those are inactive right now. the
Okay.
ones.
And Karen, can you catch up Christina and Molly on the PCA grant process and where we're at with that, and so that we can really be prepared?
We've been talking about that quite a bit. I only see one name on that subcommittee. Anybody else?
Well, if we're actually going to work it, I mean, I hate to be on all these committees, but I haven't been doing much with the frogs lately, so maybe I should go off of frogs and go on PCA grant, or I don't know.
What is PCA? I'm sorry.
Priority conservation area.
Thank you.
It's money that we
So,
could possibly
yeah.
get for projects that are important.
So
But
s-
actually, maybe somebody else should serve on that, Julie.
Well, I know Michelle has a lot of ideas for that grant, so it probably does make sense.
If I
So
ever win the lottery, I'll just do it all myself.
Association of Bay Area Governments is kind of, their part in this is to have concentrated development, priority development areas, and then priority conservation areas where you recreate and experience the outdoors. So they have a cycle where they let agencies, what am I saying, apply for that status. We applied 8 years ago, or quite a while back,
Yeah.
and together with the county and South San Francisco, I don't remember, Daly City, for a priority conservation area, San Bruno Mountain priority conservation area. It was approved. We did miss the window with Adrian having to leave to apply to modify our area to include the new priority preservation areas in the Brisbane acres, the 6 acres. So we'll need to do that in the future. But they let other people apply, then that's happening now. People have applied and they decide what they're granting as priority conservation areas, and then they'll release a grant, which will be in a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then we can apply for projects that fit their criteria in that area.
So it might pay for the signage in the frog habitat area.
It's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's like buy a parcel, or
Oh,
that was one option. Create a seed bank was another one.
oh, that's a good
Which
idea.
is expensive.
Thank you. Yeah.
So signage for that frog habitat, we might just have a little fundraiser or something.
Well, if you want to jump to PCA from Froggyland, I'll be happy to expand my frogness in your absence. But it sounds like you've got a lot more traction on the PCA thing now, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't,
You can do both, obviously, but
yeah.
you wouldn't have to feel like you were abandoning the frogs.
No, because I love the frogs.
Yep. I've got a lot of frog energy.
Okay, well, let's move on. I think we covered everything on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the calendar, day in the park, everybody has that tattooed on their arm, right? That's October 4th, for sure, or Saturday in October. The other important date coming up is the coastal cleanup on the 20th of September. And that's a big deal because we usually have a lot of people that come. And then we usually, I know that the Sierra Point Yacht Club is doing they're not calling it a regatta this year, they're calling it a celebration or whatever. And we'd love to, we don't know yet what the menu is, but we'd love to do the same arrangement for lunch if you want, with the people who do coastal cleanup.
So for staff's benefit, Jeff Franco did volunteer to do the field work on these kind of events. And we've typically, when we have a habitat restoration event, which is kind of parallel to coastal cleanup, we've provided lunch at the end of the work. They work from 9:30 to 12:30, and then we provide lunch. So last year, because the cleanup was along the same coast, we just paid for those meals at the Sierra Point Yacht Club.
At a reduced rate.
At a
Discounted
reduced
rate.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Hmm?
It's a win-win for everybody, though.
Yeah, it was a win-win for everybody. So, and so we just need to promote that. Is that everything? Winter cleanup. We don't know yet about winter cleanup day. So we should work with Ariel and see what we can do for a winter cleanup day. That's usually where we do a habitat restoration kind of thing in the winter to
So the August frog habitat maintenance reminder,
pardon?
the August frog habitat maintenance reminder, what
Yeah,
is,
that
oh,
was
yeah.
just so we could talk to, get on Paul's calendar and
that's what
then,
I thought.
yeah,
It's
and
not
then
another event
put-
like before.
put
could
it
be
out in a
internal.
blast or something
Oh,
for
we are
the
gonna-
stewards. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, and are we going to, and don't forget October, Acres letters to property owners again.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
We don't have to figure this out now, but just want to put it on everyone's radar that historically the November and December meetings are combined into one because those dates fall around holidays. So this requires a lot of coordination on our end in terms of figuring out when MTCV is available, when the committee, when this room is available, when staff is available, when you are all available. So we have a few months to figure this out, but I just want to get that on everyone's radar. So maybe in one of the upcoming meetings, we can rendezvous to figure out a good date for everyone.
Okay.
And then we also do have the option to take a break and skip a month if that's ever something that everyone feels like they need to do. So just putting that out there.
I think combining the November and December meeting is probably a good break. But we have so much stuff on our plate right now. I don't think we can really take a break through the fall or the summer like the council does, you know. So let's just sit down, look at the calendar and figure it out and make some suggestions. I think last time we
had another Wednesday at the end of November, and we took that, but the OSEC meeting would be November 26th, and Thanksgiving is November 27th, so no one wants to be here when you're cooking
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving. But when you roll to the first weekend in December, I think somebody else is in the room, Parks and Rec.
So we could look at December 3rd or 10th.
Do you
I don't
have
know what
that on
other
your calendar?
people have meetings.
Are there any other weeknights that are off for you? subcommittee members. So you can't do Thursdays, right?
No, by then I should be clear on Thursdays.
The challenge is MCTV isn't
Yep,
always available other nights.
Exactly.
Can you see what's on
We're working on the
other
city's calendar more
Wednesdays?
than our own.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
Complete Streets is the first
Right.
Wednesday,
Right.
and Parks and Rec is the second. You might
That's
go,
why I think we have to get off of Wednesday, unfortunately.
well, you could go a week earlier, 19th.
Oh, November 19th?
Is it open?
I don't think there's anybody on.
So why don't you guys figure that out and then let us know? I think that covers the calendar. Anything else on there?
Yeah, and I think the vegetation management, it takes them a while now to get that site activity permit. It's taking the county time to respond. So their presentation would probably be either November or in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
depending on when they can get that done, just FYI. And then just for staff's benefit, chair and committee member matters is where the chair or committee can bring up items that they would like the committee to discuss on a future agenda, and the chair or a majority of the committee can decide to agendize something. So if anybody has any bring up, I think you're pretty busy with what's on your plate, but this is the point to do that.
Okay.
I had lost what that thing was for, so thank you.
Okay.
Just,
I actually do have a go back. Staff got back to me because I had asked a question last time about the tree removal permits and what had to be done if you got a permit to remove a tree. And there is a 1-for-1 replacement, and it actually specifies even the size of the pot that you're replacing the new tree. So they got back to me on that. It was great reading. Thank you.
yeah, it hasn't been very well enforced.
Right.
At all.
Yep.
And in some cases, you can't replace the trees.
And in some cases, a smaller pot tree will actually do a lot better. So, yeah, it's okay.
Like,
That's- The tree subcommittee is kind of keyed into that, and just as an FYI, they do have an in lieu process. So if someone cannot plant a tree on their property, they can pay into an in lieu fund. And we also have that available to plant trees. I don't think we've really gone very deeply into that
Yeah,
yet.
I would like to see us focus a lot more on tree planting than tree. I feel like a lot of our focus right now with the inventory has been on, the taking care of the diseased and dying trees, and that's really important. But I feel like I never hear anyone foot stomp tree planting, and I'm not the expert.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is for the Dark Skies Walk, can we bring, do we have, I think, didn't we make forms for people who wanted to make a complaint?
Yeah, I was gonna bring
The
some.
Dear Neighbor letters. Dear
Yeah.
Neighbor, your light is shining in my face, and did you know
Yeah.
about the dark skies ordinance, and this is what you could do, and
Mine
this is when
worked.
you need to do it by?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I need one. They put in a light on the building that used to be it's the building that is where Klamath Visitation, that apartment building where there's some business there too. And they put on some kind of new porch light on the one of the doors. And I mean, I live blocks away, and it's like, whoa.
There's a lot more ambient light in our neighborhood now. Yep.
And it's really bright.
Yep.
And then it goes
So
on and
that
off
letter-
during the night.
I think, so the letter's perfect. That's a softer way than actually just calling.
Yeah, because
code
and then
enforcement.
also maybe bring instructions on what to do when you do need to call.
Thank
And that
you.
would be a good thing to have it and to talk about at this Dark Skies thing.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay, is there anything else on chair and committee matters?
Are we actively recruiting another member because of Barbara leaving?
City clerk has asked the council, and they're gonna do recruitment. It might be September, their goal. They have a date in mind to interview in November and see people by the first of the year.
Yeah, because bless his heart, Jason was willing to step back in and fill Barbara's role because we had so much stuff to do, and he had applied at the last go-around. But I I asked a couple of people about that, and they're like, we already have it set for recruitment in September, and we're gonna do it by January this year, and yada, yada, yada. So guess that's what we're gonna do. So if you know anybody who's interested, wants to participate,
And then the renewals, some terms expired.
Oh,
in
that would be good to
January.
know, is which of our terms expire.
Yeah, the city clerk communicates with everybody who's,
Okay.
and kind of hounds people to get their applications in. She's good about that.
I think I have another year.
No, we're done.
We're done?
Yeah. you
Oh,
and
I expire in January?
Yeah, so do I.
You have a shelf life?
Yeah,
Gosh.
we have a shelf life,
Both
yeah.
of you?
It's
Yeah.
also on the website if you want to check, so.
Okay, I
think
thought I had
it's 20
2026 too.
20, that's next year. I mean, that's in January,
Oh,
2026, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know who else. I can't remember. I think Barbara was on there, but
Well, she had already expired and she accepted a 1-year term,
oh, okay. Okay.
which we thought was weird because she and I were originally started at the
Yeah.
same time.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know. That's
Weird.
oh well.
Okay.
Did I get too excited when you said that? Yeah. Okay. Next meeting is August 27th.
I will be starting on my first camping road trip, so I won't be here.
Oh, rub it in, Karen. Do you have any final words for us,
No, I'll see you at the Dark Skies hike.
We do. Thank you. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you.
I know we've been challenging sometimes and difficult and, all that, but we love you and you've done a fantastic job for the city of Brisbane.
I think we've done a lot of good things together. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of them.
I'll never forget our highlighter fight over the PCA map.
Me either.
She literally grabbed it out of my hand as I was making yellow swaths everywhere that this should be preserved. That was pretty funny. Okay,
Move to adjourn.
this meeting is adjourned. Go
Thank you.
forth and be happy.